use your brain, use your eyes, try to put two and two together and give it a hard think. If you don't have a lot of experience, you can use your brain, but you're just going to miss some of the things that an experienced guy will see. Yeah, exactly. Hey folks, I'm embarrassed that I caught that on camera, but that's a pretty cool thing for today's topic, which is things that you should do and not do with your sawmill, and also kind of cover the topic of, I get a lot of questions from people who say, I just got a brand new sawmill. It sawed really well while the guy was here, and he left, and I got out there the next day or the next week, and now it's sawing like, it's just not sawing good at all. And with people being new sawmill owners, they really have no idea what to look for. Because they don't have the experience, and typically the people who drop sawmills off and do demonstrations purposefully don't fire hose people with too much information because they're not going to catch it anyway. I mean, I've talked to some of the guys about that, and that is a strategy that some of them use. It's like, if we told you everything you're going to need to know when you buy the sawmill or when you drop it off, then you won't remember any of it. So they try to cover the highlights so that you can retain some of it. But the issue comes into, what do you do then? You've cut a few boards, you've cut a few logs, maybe you've moved it. I mean, there's a lot of people that buy the portable mills, they push them under a shed, they bring them back out, and all of a sudden nothing's working. I mean, it's sawing, but it's sawing potato chips. It's not doing what they want. And they really don't have a place to start looking. So I've been in that situation. One of the sawmills that I bought, it worked great when it was delivered. And before you know it, it wasn't cutting very well at all. And it came down to, a simple thing that I had no idea to even look for. So that's what I'm going to try to cover some today. It's pretty cold out here. I think we're right at 17. And for an Alabama boy, that's pretty cold. And it's also one of the reasons I'm not sawing right now. Because yes, I know that people saw in the snow. And yes, I know that people do all kinds of things when it's deathly cold. But as a general rule, once it gets under 20 degrees, machinery does not like it. And if you can postpone, matter of fact, I'm putting my gloves on, my hands are cold. If you can postpone cranking a machine up, I mean, you can't do it all the time, but as a general rule, the colder it is, the less I like to use some of the heavy equipment, simply because it doesn't like it. The grease thickens up, the diesel gels, you have to spend a lot more time warming things up. We had a cold spell the other day, and my generator that I had just bragged had not failed at all. Failed for the first time in a long time since I rebuilt the fuel pump. And unfortunately, I mean, our generator's pretty bad to the bone. Oh, by the way, the reason the skid steer's sitting here, because I just had to replace the battery in this cold weather. It works great in the summertime. It worked great in the fall. It got down to around 20 degrees. Need new battery. Just did not have the reserve capacity. By the way, here's our generator. It's 80 kilowatts, pretty decent size. And some gremlin crept in there on the coldest day of the year. There was an issue. I had some shutdowns. I had to fix some stuff. So anyway, so I'm going to be talking about things that you need to be looking for when you get your new sawmill. Anytime I go get a new mill or some big piece of equipment, I always go down to the dealer and I want to run it. And that gives them time to fix it or whatever. I'll just leave it and come back another day or time. One of the biggest reasons or the biggest subject people call me on when they have trouble with their sawmills, and I do get a lot of phone calls from people, and I appreciate y'all trusting me to help you out. But it may very well be at the sawmill that the guy delivered have a band that's a different pitch and size than the boxes of stuff that you just bought. It's happened to me. So one of the mills that I originally got, it was an LT40. When it was delivered, the guy showed up, went in the back of his truck, picked up a band, put it on, sawmill. It did great. So at the end of the day, he left, everything was gone. Next morning I got all excited, went out there like a kid on Christmas, put a new band out of my box onto the sawmill. It wouldn't cut straight for nothing. Went back to the box, got a brand new band, put it on, same thing. I mean, it's waving. It's like I'm going through the ocean. It was horrible. As a matter of fact, it was so bad that I ran the band into my log clamp and just sent a shower of sparks. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't have the proper equipment. I didn't really have the experience at that time to try to figure out what was going on. I naturally assumed that the bands out of the new box were fine. So I called the guy up, suggested, check your bands. And I said, with what? They said, you don't have a band checker tool. I said, I do not. They said, well, you need to get one. I basically retorted back, if it's that important, why didn't you sell me one with the $40,000 sawmill? You know, I do that sometimes. And let's see if we can find it. This is what it looks like. This is cool, and that's the part number. Basically what you do, and I've done a video or two on it, but you put the band in here and you clamp it down really well, and then this measures the set or the distance that the teeth are offset in a band. And for most sawmill bands, you'll have a left, right, and neutral. Every 3 teeth is a cycle, depending on the band manufacturer. But basically what'll happen is you'll have 1 tooth set to the left, 1 tooth set to the right, 1 tooth set dead center. So as the 3 go through, 1 cuts on this side of the kerf, 1 cuts on that side of the kerf, and then 1 cleans the kerf, right? Chunk, chunk, chunk. Almost like an axe hit. They just happen to have an experienced sawmiller by the name of Earl. He was a professional, and he is just coming back from a sawmill convention. So they had him stop by, because I have to admit, I was complaining fairly loudly. And he looks at the mill and said, mill looks great. I mean, this guy's a professional speed sawmiller. When he says the mill looks great, the mill looks great, right? And he looks at my band and he says, you got another one? And I go to my box and I pull out another band. And he starts looking and says, you got another one? I went, yeah, I got a whole box of the darn things. He said, there ain't no set on one side of these bands. Excuse me? Now, he was able to spot it right off the bat. I didn't even know to look for it. I just assumed they were new bands. So they'd cut perfect. they weren't perfect and they didn't cut perfect, and it turns out that that entire box of bands that I had just paid for with my brand new sawmill, for one reason or another, were faulty. They had set on one side of the band, but the other tooth wasn't set out far enough. If you look real close, you can see this tooth is set up. This one's neutral, that one's down, up, neutral, down, up, neutral, down, and so on. This amount it protrudes is called the set. It's actually bent over. The teeth that are out are cutting a wider groove than the actual sawmill band. And that lets the band run straight, gives it a little bit of clearance. Now, so if you've got some teeth set like that, like you're supposed to, and you don't have an exact number of opposite ones set like that, well, your band's going to curve all the time. It's going to pull. It'd be a little bit like an airplane wing. It's going to move. So what I learned right then was 2 lessons. A guy with experience can spot a mistake just by looking. A guy with limited experience, now you got to remember, I wasn't like totally green. I'd already owned another sawmill, but I never owned a sawmill like this. I wasn't yet good enough to spot a properly set band by eye. I learned that the professional was able to spot it first thing, and where I had spent the whole day out there fighting a sawmill, really if I'd had my set checker tool, first thing I should have done was check those new bands, and boom, I'd have seen they were misset, and there was no way that sawmill could cut straight. So now the good news is that the company made it good. They actually gave me a brand new box of bands. They took those back, resharpened them, reset them, sent them back to me for free. So I mean, it was a great thing, but it was a learning experience. So what I'd recommend, if you have any money left over after buying your fancy schmancy new sawmill, you got to remember the band is what's doing the cutting. And if you can't tell if the band is right, get yourself a band checking tool. It doesn't have to be Wood-Mizer. I'm sure pretty much every sawmill or band company has them. Or if you've got some basic machinist tools or some calipers or some, micrometers, you can check them. The main thing is, don't assume a new band is right. Over the years, I have gotten any number of poorly set bands from many manufacturers. From my experience, if the set between the two opposite sides is off by about 5/1000ths of an inch, and that ain't a lot, there's no way in the world that band's going to cut straight. Another little hint as a new sawmiller that I highly recommend, and it's something I do myself. Sometimes you're chasing squirrels and rabbits when your sawmill's out of alignment or it's cutting crazy. And you don't know if it's your band or your sawmill. So when you finally get a band that cuts perfect, you'll know it when you get it. I mean, it's like music to your ears. It's like the world's a better place. The birds are singing, the sun is out. Stop running that band. Just don't. Take that band off, write gold standard on it with a Sharpie, and hang that bad boy on the wall somewhere where you're not going to damage, you're not going to use it, you're not going to mess with it. And the reason I'm saying that is when you finally do run into a problem where you can't tell if it's the band or the mill or stressing the logs or you're just having a bad day, go take that band off the wall, put it on your sawmill, make some cuts with it, and that'll tell you if you're running bad bands or good bands, because you know that band was perfect. You put a perfect band on a sawmill and that sawmill's cutting waves, it ain't the band. Take it off, put it back on the nail, wherever you put it, and start working on your sawmill. I have seen so many people chase the wrong thing up front. They don't know if it's a band problem, and they get all into the set and the sharpen and the rake and the hook angle and the back angle and the gullet depth, and they're using the wrong bands for the wrong species, or their bands are too thick or they're too thin, and then it ain't got nothing to do with the band. It's because they got something out of adjustment on their sawmill. So That's a tip. Let's get into hook angle real quick. I'm not going to cover it in depth, but as a general rule, the more aggressive the hook angle, the faster the band's going to cut. And it likes softer wood. That's 90 degrees, 4 degrees, 10 degrees, I don't know, 11 degrees, but that's the tooth angle, right? Bands that are 10 and 11 degrees, they will smoke through clean pine, poplar, or even soft woods. When they hit a knot, they're going to try to deflect. When you're sawing hardwood or really nasty wood, a lot of times you'll actually want to go down to, say, a 4-degree band. It's more of a chisel or a scraper than a slicer. It will not cut as fast, and it's a different band for a different purpose. If you're cutting like I do, just a lot of nice hardwoods, big, small, whatever, every species I can get a hold of, I typically like one that's in the middle, which is a 7-degree. 7 degrees cut really fast, and they will cut through some really hard wood. I don't even use 10s or 11s anymore. I've got a couple of 4s hung up on the hooks up in the barn. I might use them every now and then, but the reality is a 7 will do fine. Don't trust the manufacturer to put the right band on that you're going to need. Anyway, let's move on to something else. It's loose. Look at it. It's not even touching the ground. Thanks for visiting our sawmill. Click on the links above to see more of our videos.